the infamous words of Harry Carey, we have seen something that has not occurred since 1928. I guess this is the year of the almost 100-year opportunities, events, whatever you want to call them. What I'm referring to is in 1928 was the first time, or the last time, that we saw that we had the same party have the presidency, the Senate, and the Congress. Welcome to Overnight Action, everybody, here at MarketStream.live. I am Joe Cusick from the Cusick Group, securities provided by MoneyBlock. Well, Donald Trump did it. This is why we have what's called in the markets black swan events, 2 standard deviation moves. It was absolutely incredible as I was watching the markets and just seeing the returns come in. It was amazing. As a matter of fact, at around 11 Eastern was when, 10:30, 11 Eastern, that's when I knew that this was for real. The markets had pulled back dramatically. As a matter of fact, the S&Ps, which we'll talk about on the opening bell, but the S&Ps were down locked limit. You had the Nikkei down almost 1,000 points. You had bonds down. You had volatility up almost 8 points in the November expiration cycle. So what did we learn? Well, we learned a few things. One is polls. You got Brexited. The other thing is that this is why you're watching the show. This is why you should be watching these shows where we talk about the ability to utilize derivative products, option pricing, and all of these forward-looking components to give you transparency. We talked a lot about different opportunities in the market, but we also talked about what the market was pricing in for potential movements. Now, to say that Donald Trump was a lock in terms of the market, no. The price action, though, over the last week and a half showed volatility, which meant expect the unexpected, and we got that. And so that's what I want you to walk away with this morning as we'll get into what happened overnight in Europe, in Asia, and then what's on tap for here in the United States. But you need to stay tuned to what we're talking about here. This is going to give you that transparency. It's going to give you that forward-looking thinking that's going to help you make better investment decisions so that when you wake up in the morning after trying to stay up until 3:30 a.m., I'm tired, to figure out what's going on, you already have a game plan. You already see that the markets have rebounded, that 50% of what had already occurred is already covered. We had a bounce. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at the bond yields over in Europe. Just doing a quick yield check. I see that the French 10-year, and I'm going to look at the universal 10-year. So in France, the 10-year is up 2 basis points at half a percentage point. Germany, the 10-year Bund is it's down about 1 basis point, down about 0.1%. Greece 10-year is up 5 basis points at 7.25%. Italy 10-year is up at 5 basis points, up about 1.77% or to 1.7%. Portugal 10-year up 6 basis points to 3.28%. Spain up 10-year. Their 10-year is up 2 basis points at 1.27, and the UK 10-year gilt is up 6 basis points at 1.18%. So yields are up. It looks like you're seeing that now. Things are starting to play out. Asia was the story last night. That's where you really saw the move. Basically, the Pacific region, it broadly was lower, but really off the worst levels that I saw last night. There still tends to be some cautious trade. The yen strength last night was impressive. As a matter of fact, the yen-dollar pair got as low as 101.20. The yen was trading at 101.20 against the dollar. That was impressive since we closed at basically 103.75, almost 104. It has subsequently bounced back and is trading in that 103.25 range. What does that mean to you? That means that there were a lot of institutional and just traders in general going into safe haven currencies because the Trump victory seemed, as the night goes on, seemed to be closer and closer. Once he got over 210, 220, electoral votes. Bottom line is, it became a reality. And we saw that Japanese Nikkei, it fell about 5.4% overnight in total. But I have to tell you, it was a huge rally back off of its lows. I saw it down as much as 1,000 points. It finished the night down about 600. Technology led the way, down about 6.2%. Consumer discretionaries were down about 6.1%. Materials down about 5.8%. And I'm looking at some financials. Looks like the group in general was down about 5.8%. And utilities continued to lag, but they were the best performer, if you want to say that, down 2.4%. Basically, the whole Nikkei 225 was down. You're going to watch names that have now export risk, as we called it. I've been talking about that for a week and a half. Watch the exporters. A Trump presidency is going to put new trade policies and potentially in place. TPP, that could be off the table. NAFTA. Now we're going to be talking policies, and it's going to be real, folks, because not only do you have a Republican president, you have a Republican Senate, and you have a Republican Congress. Here we go. Watch what traded lower was Fuji Heavy Industries, Yamaha Motor, Mazda Motor, and Fast Retailing, all lost between 7.9% and 12%. EWJ, and this is what I want to bring to context. EWJ is the ETF that trades here in the United States. It looks like right now it's going to open right around that $49, $49.10 level. That's where I'm seeing it trade right now. It closed last night at $49, a little over $49.80. The options in EWJ were pricing the potential for it to either go up or down between now and November expiration of around $1.50. The underlying looks like it's going to be poised to open up down about 70 cents. Folks, that option pricing gave me a forecast so that I can anticipate that if there was a big move, like a 1.5 standard deviation move, either to the upside or to the downside, I could emotionally prepare. I could positionally prepare. So if I wanted to pare back some of it because I felt there was risk, and so I was getting out of a long position or maybe covering some of a short position, or I was looking at a position where I had multiple legs of option strategies on. You condor traders know what I'm talking about. I could actually pull out some risk by reducing my size. This is why I bring this stuff to light. I know plus minus sometimes doesn't mean much to you, but now it will. Let's pay attention to that. So right now, you see that the markets, and I'm not even going to give you plus minus today because volatility is going to be all over the map on the open. But right now, EWJ is poised to open up at 49.10. It's down about 70 cents, but it's well within the estimated move that we've been talking about every morning. Let's take a look at the Hong Kong Hang Seng. It gave up about 2.2%. General weakness across the board. Financials like China Construction Bank, ICBC Bank of Communications, and Bank of China all lost between 2.6% and 2.8%. You're going to see financials in China under a little bit of pressure. Watch EWH. China Shanghai Composite lost about 0.6%. You're seeing auto names, technology names, and some exporting names all down between 3% and 3.5%. Asher, let's watch that opening closely. It's going to open up lower. That's the ETF that tracks the top 300 stocks in the Shanghai Index. We'll see how that goes. Taking a look at India, lower by about 1.2%. Industrial names like Suzuki, Hero Motocorp, all under pressure. They lost somewhere between 2.9% and 4.7% respectively. But we did see that drug makers. Now, again, this gets back to the Trump trade that we talked about over the last week. Drug makers rebounded quite significantly. As a matter of fact, Sun Pharma and Dr. Reddy's lab, you go back and check the tape. We talked about that on Friday. They both gained about between 4.1% for Sun Pharma and 5% for Dr. Reddy's. Impressive move. Watch EPI. That's the ETF that tracks India. Let's see where that trades. Now taking a look at Europe. Europe right now is in negative territory. The session is open, but they've definitely climbed off their worst lows. The worst performing country right now is Spain. Their weakness is basically, it's got as low as 2.5%. They've pared their losses. Now they're down about 1.5%, but we'll get into that. What has been an impressive trade is the Euro trade. It has the euro bounced pretty considerably last night. It's pared some of those. It's pulled back from some of those profits, but up about 0.6% against the buck, right around 10. Let's see, about 110.95 for the euro right now. So I'm watching that trade. Taking a look at Germany, I'm seeing the DAX down about 1.2%. You're going to see the weakness basically come up with the exporters, right? And I talked about this. This is where you could have trimmed up some of your risk. You could have written some premium against some of these names, like doing covered rights and so forth. But BMW, Daimler Chrysler, and Volkswagen are all down between 2.7% and 3.5%. That could be a knee-jerk reaction, but all of these kind of trades are going to be knee-jerk over the next couple of days and weeks until we start seeing what kind of cabinet members that Trump is going to be putting into play, as well as really how is his rhetoric going forward. His speech this morning was much more tempered. It was much more balanced. And had almost a healing tone to it versus the rhetoric that we heard during the election process. So it's going to be interesting. Financials are also weighing on the market. You see Commerzbank and Deutsche Bank basically surrendering between 1.9% and 2.5%. Healthcare names were up, right? They were outperforming Merck, Bayer, all up between 2.2% and 3.5%. Watch EWG. We're going to watch those large cap pharmas. That's going to be an interesting play. Want to see how, again, the drug policies that Trump could be putting into place. It's going to be interesting. Taking a look at the UK FTSE, down about 0.5%. Consumer names showing relative weakness. Sainsbury, Marks & Spencer, Associated Foods, Unilever, Diageo, Intercontinental Hotels, all bet down between 2.4% and 5.3%. There are some concerns here. Again, it's going to be about the policies going forward and also this Brexit. There is now the High Court. They're looking to overturn their ruling, forcing Parliament to make a vote on what already the electorate has voted. This is an interesting time, folks. On the upside, you had miners. Randgold Resources, BHP Billiton, all up between 1.9% and 8.5%. We're seeing that moving to the upside. EW is the ETF that you're going to watch here in the States. French CAC up about 1.4%. Just broad pressure across the board there. Renault is the weakest performer, falling about 3.5%. You're also seeing consumer names like L'Oreal, Louis Vuitton, Kering, Danone, and Carrefour all down between 1.8% and 3.5%. Again, you're going to see this play itself out. It's going to take weeks, months, until he's in office, until we can start hearing the rhetoric about what's going to be happening with trade policies. This is going to be interesting. EWQ is what you're going to want to look at here in the United States as far as an ETF that you could trade during our market hours that will follow the CAC in France. And finally, Spain. Spain had losses around 2.5%, trying to pull back here. Financials are contributing to this quite clearly. Santander Bank, Banco Popular, all following between 1.3% and 8.9%. So you see that financials continue to be under pressure. I think there's going to be a volatility, but one thing I will tell you is I think the volatility is going to come off very quickly. I think that while the moves, you could see knee-jerk reactions, I think overall, now that the election is over, it's very clear that we have one party in play right now for the foreseeable future. Volatility now is going to come off. Now we're going to start looking at policy, fundamentals, as well as get into the technical nature of the actual markets. This is going to get very interesting. And so that's why you need to stay tuned to MarketStream.live. All right, folks, I'm going to be on in less than an hour with the opening bell. We're going to talk about the opening, talk about what are some of the stocks we should be looking at, what's hot on the open, and get you prepared for today. All right, welcome, and we'll see you at 9:30. Take care.